I've been thinking about this for quite some time, so while I'm taking advantage of the day that I'm making alfajores, I decided to try making alfajores but a gingerbread flavor cookie instead of just the plain cookie itself. And this one won't be done with dulce de leche. I have an idea of a fruit filling instead, and instead of coconut on the outside, maybe some finely chopped up almond. Anyway, I'm using the same recipe I used for the basic alfajores, which is from the Vintage Kitchen. Instead of the lemon zest, though, I substituted for lime zest, and I added 1/4 cup of molasses. Everything else is the same. I didn't change anything else. So I'm going to continue on with this. I won't bore you with like blah 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 blah. You've already seen it with the other alfajore video, but I'm going to continue on and see how this experiment works. The dough for the gingerbread alfajores has come out like it's very, very, very soft and sticky, almost like just a spoon dough that you take spoonfuls and dump them on a cookie sheet, flatten them out, blah 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 blah. But it does seem to hold its shape quite nicely, so I did put a little bit more flour than I would normally put on my countertop to bring it together in a ball. And it feels nice and soft. This actually feels like the first time I made the alfajore dough. It was very, very soft like that. It still came out really good. So we've come this far. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. We'll wrap this too. Leave it in the fridge for a couple hours, and then we'll come back to making the gingerbread cookies eventually. Anyway, in a little bit. So I have my gingerbread dough out of the fridge. It is very, very soft, very sticky. I think that's because of the adding of the molasses to it. I did forget to mention though that, if I'm making like a gingerbread alfajore, you have to add ginger. What I switched up from the regular alfajore recipe to this one was I substituted the lemon zest in the original recipe for a lime zest in this one. It was 1 teaspoon, and 1 teaspoon of ginger to the dry ingredients. I added 1/4 cup of molasses after I creamed my butter, eggs, and sugar. Other than that, everything is the same. There's my little cookies. I'm going to do some more, and then I'll cook them up, and we'll see how they go. So I have a cookie sheet prepped. My oven is at 325, and the recipe that I got these from the Vintage Kitchen's recipe for the original alfajores states 10 to 12 minutes cook time. So I found 10 minutes is just fine. You don't want to overbake these cookies because they want to be nice and soft and crumbly. Now it's my attempt at making the filling for the cookies. I did a test run. I made a pear one, and it seems to be nice and thick, so maybe I'll have luck the second time around. It's highly experimental. I will put how I made it in the description, and I'll tell you here, but no guarantee that it will turn out. Worst case scenario, you either burn the crap out of it, and the second best case worst scenario is you'll end up with a sauce that you can use on ice cream or other desserts. So there you go. Anyway, this takes a 1/2 pint jar of peach slices that I had made up earlier in the fall, about 1 tablespoon of cut up crystallized ginger, and we're just going to puree it. So let me get that done. Once it's nice and pureed, we're going to transfer it to a small saucepan. Oh, great. I always make a mess. And then what I did was I just made up a cornstarch slurry of, it's about 2, maybe 3 teaspoons of cornstarch with a little bit of the syrup from the canned peaches or pears that I made up. And you can do this with like store-bought canned fruit too, I'm sure. And then I'm adding in, when I made up my crystallized ginger, I kept the syrup aside. Then you're going to put about 2 nice big teaspoons of there. It's just some extra flavoring. And that has vanilla bean in it also. It's quite delicious syrup. And then turn that on to medium, and then we're just going to be, I'm just going to be stirring this fairly constantly for about the next 20 minutes or so. And then hopefully I will get the same kind of consistency I got with the pears. And this is when you know that you got to the almost to the point of it being done. It starts to become a more cohesive mass. About halfway through the cooking time, it would look like this. It's still pretty liquidy. It easily drips off the spatula. But now, as you can see, it tends to stay more together. I've already started filling some of these cookies with the pear filling I made. Just spread a layer, just like our dulce de leche cookies. Push them together, and if you got any excess here, redistribute. Really, it's all good. It's all good. And then just roll them in a bit of, I'm using, these are chopped up or ground almonds. I made enough of both the peach and the pear filling to finish off these cookies. This is the peach. I'm just using my finger. I'm the only one who's going to eat them in the house. There we go. 43 gingerbread alfajores with either a peach or a pear filling that I kind of just made up myself, finished with some ground almonds.